Shaker Heights has a remarkable collection of early 20th century residential architecture in historic revival styles. Three styles, Tudor, French, and Georgian, are the most prevalent in the community because these styles were advocated by the city's original developers, the Van Sweringen brothers. The following program will present the distinctive features of each style.
Tudor architecture in Shaker Heights. Tudor-style residential architecture perhaps most often brings to mind steeply pitched gables with half-timbering work and leaded glass windows with diamond patterns. The Tudor residential architecture in Shaker Heights exhibits these elements and many more. Tudor was one of the styles mandated by the Van Sweringen brothers, which also included the French, the Colonial, and Federal revivals, and the English cottage influence. The Tudor style was extremely popular in Shaker Heights for a period of 20 years, from the mid-teens through the early 1930s. Among the earliest Tudor houses built in Shaker Heights was that of a local architect for his own use. Charles Schneider built this Tudor home on Weybridge Road in 1915, while completing his work on Stan Hewitt Hall in Akron in the same Jacobean revival style. Another of Schneider's designs is an elegant, understated Tudor. Philip Small designed this wood-shingled Tudor house in 1922. Small later remodeled the Van Sweringen home into a Tudor manor house and was responsible for several Tudor houses, including this home on Marchmont. Most of the architects active in Shaker Heights designed houses in the Tudor style, including Chester Lowe, who provided plans for this Sedgwick Road home. The heyday of the Tudor revival style in Shaker Heights appears to have been during the last half of the 1920s. Several of the demonstration houses erected by the Van Sweringens in 1924 to designs by Bloodgood Tuttle were Tudor and English in style, and no doubt furthered the popularity of the style. Developers active in Shaker Heights erected Tudor houses in all sizes and were responsible for the groups of Tudor two-family houses on Winslow Road. The popularity of the Tudor house in Shaker Heights and across the country can be attributed to various reasons. Tudor architecture offers a pleasant air of unreality, a grateful and graceful departure from the conventional. Tudor houses embodied the picturesque, especially a blending of elements from various architectural styles. Complex massing and asymmetrical facades incorporated overlapping gables, overhanging second stories, projecting oriel and bay windows, and prominent chimneys into endless variations on the Tudor theme. The Tudor mode was also used for commercial buildings, as seen in Shaker's Kingsbury building, and even an RTA station on Shaker Boulevard makes an effort at half-timbering. Tudor houses were part of the last hurrah of the arts and crafts or craftsmen's movement in this country, which emphasized the use of several types of fine materials, hand-worked in the manner that best enhanced them. Both the exteriors and interiors of Tudor homes provided the opportunity to showcase carved wood and stone elements, ornamental plasterwork, and elaborate leaded glass windows. The widespread use of the Tudor style was also encouraged by something as prosaic as changes in home construction methods. The application of an exterior skin of masonry to a structure framed in wood, and perhaps some steel, significantly lowered the cost of construction and made the use of various masonry materials associated with the Tudor style possible on even quite modest homes. Tudor houses like these have a mixture of masonry, cladding materials resulting in the delightful combination of brick, stone, and stucco. Brick predominates on the Tudor residence in Shaker Heights and often appears in patterning made possible by its non-structural role. Since the brick is merely a veneer, a gable can be clad in tapestry-like brickwork, and half-timbering can be filled with brick in a herringbone pattern. Brickwork is often combined with other materials for the emphasis of chimneys, entryways, and projecting gables or bays. Smooth and variegated sandstone and local fieldstone are often combined with brick wall surfaces and are used to define entrance surrounds and as carved stone window frames. Decorative carving often incorporates medieval or classical motifs and Tudor and Gothic arches. Roofs of colored slate add another rich texture to many Tudor homes. Stucco is used with inventiveness, usually in conjunction with ornamental half-timbering. Stucco work can incorporate classically inspired ornament, as in these gables, a highly textured surface, or an unexpected pattern. Half-timbering is the signature element of the Tudor style, and the half-timbers may be vertical, a geometric pattern of triangles, or strapwork border patterns, perhaps all on one house. On some houses, a virtual riot of gables reaches for the sky. The gables are usually quite steeply pitched, and certainly in a variety of sizes and levels. Their prominent forms may be emphasized with decorative half-timbering or patterned brickwork, or perhaps nearly filled with a large window group. Who can miss the chimney of a Tudor home? They often rise against the front facade or perhaps on the side. Chimneys are often of a contrasting material stone on a brick home, or patterned brick on a half-timbered one. The flues are usually indicated with separate chimney pots or perhaps multiple shafts, and this one even incorporates a window. Many Tudor houses have small entrance porches which provide an inviting, sheltered entry. Usually a projecting element with a gable roof, the porch may have carved verge boards and turned posts. More classically inspired designs have flush entries, usually set off by stone surrounds in the form of a Tudor or Gothic arch. The windows of a Tudor home are often prominent elements of the design, either in their large size or projecting form as a bay or oriel, as well as in the fine detail of the leaded glass. Casement or double-hung sash are grouped for maximum impact and result in well-lit stair halls and main interior spaces. The designers of many two-family homes in the Tudor style capitalized on this element, providing two tiers of grouped windows. In 1927, architect Frank B. Mead noted that it was perfectly inexcusable to be confronted by a different type of architecture on the interior than employed on the exterior. Interior details in Tudor homes are reflected in the fireplaces, which range from traditional carved wood and stone mantels to craftsman-inspired slate and ornamental iron designs, and to more modern interpretations like this sandstone Tudor arch. For 20th century Tudor interiors, architects drew on the craftsmanship that flourished during the Elizabethan era. Tudor homes also feature what was called antique plastering, which Mead described as quaint Old English designs executed in low relief to give an effect of age. Entrance halls and bathrooms often feature art pottery tile in rich earth tones. The houses in the Tudor style add much to the picturesque quality of Shaker Heights streetscapes. On virtually every street, one can enjoy the variations on the Tudor theme, especially the mix of materials and rich details.
Georgian architecture in Shaker Heights. Georgian revival was one of the styles mandated by the Van Swearingen brothers for the dwellings of Shaker Heights. The red brick of the Georgian and Federal offered familiarity and dignity in contrast to the European sophistication of the French mode and the picturesque and escapist quality of the Tudor style. The Georgian style has been popular in Shaker Heights throughout its development for houses of all sizes and also for two-family dwellings. Many apartment buildings have also been detailed in the Georgian style. The rich heritage associated with the Georgian was utilized to establish a civic presence for institutional buildings from City Hall to the city schools, as well as for most of the churches. At Shaker Square, the Georgian style established just the right tone, making businesses and the Colony Theater seem proper yet welcoming. When the Guardian Trust Company opened its doors at Shaker Square, the local press noted a spirit of informality that was carried into the furnishings of the interior as well. Some architects borrowed from their 18th century predecessors. It was considered perfectly permissible for Clarence Mack to copy the celebrated Hammond Harwood House in Annapolis, Maryland, for this home on South Park. Another house in Shaker Heights that was modeled on a particular Georgian house is on Shelburne Road. The architectural firm of Dunn and Cooper used elements from an English house, the Wick, which the clients Mr. and Mrs. Prescott Ely were personally familiar with. In other cases, architects combined elements of the Georgian, Federal, and neoclassic in the best revivalist manner, and sometimes took liberties with window size and shape. In this brief survey, the term Georgian is used collectively in its broadest sense. However, homes of the colonial revival style, which evoke a simplicity and sometimes picturesque quality of earlier colonial architecture, have not been brought under the Georgian umbrella. Architect Frank B. Mead noted that just as Georgian architecture in Virginia reflected pride in family, home, and country, so could it represent those values in Shaker Heights. A Georgian house was described as aristocratic and stately, yet cordial and hospitable. The formality and dignity of the Georgian house is based on its symmetry and balance. The entire house, like this one, or its central block, generally presents 5 or more bays of windows to the street, which are interrupted in the center bay by a prominent entrance. Chimneys rise inconspicuously along the ends of the house. The box-like form is terminated by a graceful, low-pitched, hipped, or gable roof. The format for detailing a Georgian house is straightforward. Emphasize the entrance, accent with eaves at the edge of the roof with a cornice, and take care not to interrupt the pattern of windows. In addition, an architect might mark the position of the second floor with a stone band course, or hint at the structure that permitted window openings by setting them in larger, relieving arches. The absolute symmetry of the by-the-book Georgian house often gave way in the Georgian revival in Shaker Heights. The smaller Georgian house was often hard-pressed to present 5 bay windows to the street. Consequently, a projecting pavilion, a triangular pediment at the roof line, or side entrance were called upon to maintain the impression of the Georgian facade, if not its actual form. The undercurrent of informality that was an aspect of suburban living also worked against the strict symmetry of the Georgian facade. After all, the garage, sun, or screen porch, or kitchen wing could not always be easily incorporated into the main block or balanced on the opposite side by another wing. Red brick and contrasting white trim are the hallmarks of the Georgian house. Pilasters rising through the facade added interest to the brick wall, as did the coining of brick at corners in imitation of stonework, as seen here at the edges of the projecting central pavilion. Local stone also was used in the Georgian revival to give the effect of antiquity. The white trim that contrasts so nicely with brick and stone on homes is, of course, painted wood. Though the hand carving of molding and column capitals had given way to mass-produced millwork, wood still gave form to many small details that enriched the Georgian house. Window sash with elegant narrow muntins, panel doors, blocky dentils at the roof cornice, and elegant columns. More than a central position signals the importance of an entrance to a Georgian house. From the fundamental Georgian doorway, the panel door topped by a transom light and a crown molding, or a triangular or curved pediment to more emphatic statements which incorporate a fan-light window or a portico supported by columns. The entrance is an invitation to gracious living. An entrance alone can establish the Georgian character of a smaller home. Refined living in a colonial Georgian home was made possible by abundant light. The large size, extensive number, and regular pattern of window openings marked the exterior of a Georgian. Georgian windows often extended to the floor on the main story of the house. They may be emphasized with pediments above, as these windows are. They always have double-hung sash. The fenestration of a Georgian house might also include an ornamental window above the entrance, a pair of octagonal windows flanking the door, or a fan light in the pediment. But just how did the interior of a Georgian house further gracious living? Besides presenting rooms with good bones or the pleasing proportions of good taste, Georgian houses incorporated 2 elements that had not been present in earlier colonial dwellings: the stair hall and the parlor. In the grandest of 18th century Georgian dwellings, a prominent stair hall functioned as a ceremonial passageway when entertaining took place on more than one floor. Even on a smaller scale, the staircase must present itself boldly and freely. Otherwise, the impression was given that the house had no good rooms on the upper floor. Obviously, there's another reason for the continued presence of the grand stair hall: the sensual pleasure it offers to those who use it, whether to descend to the front door to receive guests or to attend to the matters of everyday life. Whether a straight run or a curved passage to the second floor, the staircase is a prominent and undoubtedly refined aspect of the Georgian Revival interior. The parlor of the colonial Georgian house represented a room set aside for entertainment and the presentation of the family prized possessions. It initiated a differentiation of functions for rooms that had not existed previously and that has continued to the present day. The living room of a Shaker Georgian home that has replaced the parlor as that setting has a similar architectural elegance enhanced by a fireplace mantel and surround. The dining room of the Georgian home also exhibits a similar attention to detail and perhaps has a built-in corner cupboard, a colonial feature in fancy dress. The passage from room to room is sometimes celebrated by the use of arch openings and pediment doorways. As formal as the interiors of most Georgian homes seem to us today, at the time of their construction they were emphasized as representing the good taste of the owner rather than formality. The most valued aspect of a Georgian Revival home were a living room built naturally about a fireplace, a master bedroom that was large and airy, and a panel library that was warm and comfortable. Clarence Mack furnished a South Park home to convey a feeling of dignity and formality, but not severity. Ornamental details from the prototype, a Robert Adams design in Kent, England, were faithfully reproduced. The interior designer attempted to use the best of taste and color to create an atmosphere of inviting charm. Imagine the living room was hung in chintz, and the main gallery was considered a comfortable lounge. The development firm of Keyes Treuhoff headlined an advertisement for a Georgian home in Shaker Heights as a symphony in architecture. By displaying a fervent loyalty to architectural tradition, the architect had endowed that house with lasting charm. The dignity of the Georgian home continues to accommodate the urbane, often even genteel way of life in our city.
French architecture in Shaker Heights. The French eclectic style, as practiced in planned communities such as Shaker Heights, was based upon their interpretation of the various building forms, materials, and details found throughout the cities, small towns, and rural areas of France. The French eclectic style encompasses a number of specific variants, including the French Norman, French Regency, Chateauesque, and Beaux-Arts styles, as well as the casual character of the country farmhouses of the south of France. Therefore, French homes can be symmetrical and formal, or asymmetrical and picturesque. They can be urbane and proper, or rustic and rambling in character. In Shaker, the French style was used for small and medium-sized homes, as well as for large mansions. A number of two-family homes were also designed in the French style. These two families are seen mostly on Newell Road between Glencairn and Linfield Roads. French homes are usually found throughout the community, although the largest concentrations of French homes are found in the Malvern and Sussex neighborhoods. The French eclectic style was most popular in this country during the 1920s and 30s. In Shaker, there are over 300 homes designed in this style, with their features loosely based on many centuries of French domestic architecture. Although French homes may exhibit great variety in their form and details, proper French eclectic homes are all united by their characteristic steeply pitched, hipped roofs that often have flared eaves and may be punctuated by a number of dormers. Wall dormers, such as this one, are so named because they cut through the eave and cornice line to act as an extension of the wall plane. Dormers can be arched, gabled, hipped, and even double-tiered like these are. Formal French houses tend to have flat, even textured slate roofs. Less formal French homes may have rough cut slate or wood shingle for a more rustic effect. The roof of an appendage may be covered in copper. The extremely low extension of a roof line will produce a sloped interior ceiling condition, such as this one. A revival of French domestic architecture arose in the 1960s and was known as Neo-French. Neo-French homes are generally less rigid in their interpretation of the traditional French styles. They can be distinguished from their French eclectic period predecessors by their more liberal proportions and roof profile, generous interior plan arrangement with differing individual room functions, and the interpretive use of details that give each home its own character. The exterior of French homes are most often masonry, stucco, or a combination of these materials. Brickwork may be patterned in basket weave, tapestry, or checkerboard designs, and may incorporate contrasting stone sections or half timbering. Often they have tall wood-framed casement windows with zinc or leaded glass panes, but double-hung windows are also common. On a symmetrical house, the entrance will be centered on the front, and the windows typically have shutters. Notice the French fleur-de-lis detail on these shutters. On an asymmetrical house, the entrance may be offset to one side, and the windows are more often accentuated with plaster trim. On a home that prominently features a tower element, the tower usually contains the main entrance. This doorway may be framed by decorative masonry. Other characteristics of the French style include tall, massive chimneys that may require the use of a support rod to aid in the chimney's resistance to high winds. These rods are usually made of wrought iron and may be whimsically decorated. Wrought iron balconies at the second-story level have elaborate, curvaceous designs. These balconies may be shallow and purely decorative, or deep enough to hold pots of cascading flowers. Romantic small turrets and round towers will have conical roofs, as seen in the more chateauesque examples, and usually have fanciful copper finials. Cut stone around entranceways and windows may be plain, carved, or specially dressed with a pattern such as the lined checkerboard. A surface of plasterwork over stucco may be further embellished with traditional French floral or bird designs. On the interior, formal French homes most often feature a prominent curving main stairway with an elaborate wrought iron railing placed in a two-story entrance hall. Natural wood is used for flooring, doors, window trim, and also for paneling. In main rooms, you may find beams and crown moldings made of plaster more frequently than wood. The most common design motif in plaster moldings is this grapevine. Entrance foyers may have Moravian tile flooring. This type of patterned flooring, made of small glazed terracotta pieces, originated in Europe and was brought to this country by immigrant artisans who settled in Pennsylvania. Living room fireplaces will often have a facing, or surround, of stone with no mantel, but a more formal French home may have a marble surround with a wood mantel. Original lighting fixtures and hardware of wrought iron are still found in some homes. Most French homes originally had a separate breakfast room or butler's pantry, but over the years one or both may have been altered or removed in order to enlarge the kitchen area. However, some of the homes have maintained or restored their original room arrangement. You will notice that French homes in Shaker emphasize their garden areas by incorporating a side or rear courtyard, a gated walkway through the garden area, a gated entrance or arched passageway over the driveway, a fanciful lighting element at a formal pathway, decorated screen walls, an open side porch for vines to climb upon, or a private rear patio for relaxing outdoors. It is quite common to see features from other architectural door and entrance styles, such as English or Georgian, on French homes. Likewise, English colonial or Georgian homes may have hipped roof lines with flared eaves. It is this careful borrowing or combining of elements that gives each Shaker Heights home its own unique character.
This program is based on the presentations which were part of the past 3 Landmark Commission architectural tours. The presentation on the French style was prepared by Carolyn Jaimo in 1994. The presentations on the Tudor and the Georgian styles were prepared by Betsy Bradley in 1995 and 96, respectively. For more information about the annual Landmark Commission Tour, please call the Shaker Heights Department of Planning and Development at 491-1430.